All right, we are continuing to look at the Handel Sonata in D major. This is movement 2, and we're going from measure 40 through the end of 56. Let's start by marking some stuff in. Starting at the beginning of measure 40, you are in third position, although you don't really have to mark it because last time where we left off, you marked third position in measure 37, and you continue third through that. So starting at measure 40, you are in third position. You're going to stay in third position all the way until the top of the second page, measure 43. So go ahead and mark first up there. But a couple of things I want to point out, well, really one thing I want to point out real quick, which is the last two notes on the first page. It's in measure 42. It's a D sharp and an E. So you're up in third position. Normally your first finger is on D and your second finger is on an E. To play D sharp E, you're going to slide your first finger up. And they're going to be half step right next to each other. So the rest is just standard third position, but that's one thing that's a little bit different. Okay, so now we're up in measure 43. This is first position, C sharp, D, B, and then there's a C natural with a mordant. I think we've talked about these before, but I can't remember, so I'm going to say it again. That little squiggly on top of the C natural is a mordant, which is basically a half a trill. So remember, a trill means you're going to go up to the next note in the key signature, and you go back and forth between the two notes. A mordant means you just do it once. So just one time up to a D. Then A sharp, which is the same as B flat. That's technically half position, but we're not going to count that as a shift. Then in the next shift is in the middle of measure 44. So you can see there's a 1 over an A, which actually it's an A sharp because there's an accidental earlier in the measure. So that'll be really similar to what we just did with the D sharp. You're going to move your first finger up. So go ahead and mark third over that, and you might even want to write third with a little like up arrow in parentheses to remind you that it's actually kind of like third and a half position. So we're going to get up there. You really need to know your third position, know with crossing strings which fingers play what. Then actually right back to first on the second beat of measure 45. So let me just show you, make sure we're on the same page here. Hopefully that's coming through. You can see where I marked the shifting. Okay, so back to first. Then first note of the second line, measure 46, is for third position again. Okay, just for one note, and then you go back to first. So you're just stretching up for that third, and then you can go back to first. I am going to play this in a minute. I just want to finish up this section. Then back to third with the A, with first finger on A. I'll show you this in a minute. And then stay in third, and then here's where I disagree. In measure 47, the third set of 16th notes, they have you going back and forth between third position and second position, so you're shifting back and forth. I think it's actually easier to go to first position and play this, so go ahead and mark that as first. But what you have to remember is that it is G natural, so a low 2, and then C sharp. Okay, but still I think it's easier than shifting back and forth. That is pretty tough to shift back and forth. Let's stop there. So I've just stopped right at 48. I'm going to play all of that from measure 40 through 48 really slowly. This is a tough part. So it's going to take a little bit of practice to get it under your fingertips to be able to play it at a good tempo. But here I go from measure 40 slowly. So I'm in third position, and just kind of thinking about it ahead of time, it's going to be 4 on A and then 1, 3, 1 on D. So ready, and here we go. Now 2, 3, high 1, 2, back to first. Oh, C sharp, sorry. Mordant. Now B flat or A sharp. mess that up too. Back to first. Up just for the C sharp. Back to first. Now third again. Oops, sorry. Okay, so you gotta remember, I forgot my own advice there, which is when you go to first, it's a low 2 on E, high 2 on A. I did it backwards. So you might even find a way to mark that so it makes sense for you. Now, of course, that was much slower than you would ultimately want to play it, but that was a good run through it to give you an idea of what it's supposed to sound like. Let me do it a little bit faster. Hopefully I won't make the same mistakes either now that I've run through it slowly and I see some of the mistakes I made. So, da 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 da, ready, and here we go. 2, 3, high 1, 2, C sharp. So that's where we're at here. We're in first, so you actually can stay in first in measure 48. I know it says 2 fingers, but you can play that with 3. By the way, when you do that first position thing, the other option that you could do, instead of going low 2, high 2, low 2, high 2, you could keep your second finger in the high 2 position and just move your first finger up. We've done that a few times in the piece already, and go. Honestly, that is the easiest way. A little bit more, you have to think about it, really be ready for it, it's different. But either way, I would say it's easier than going back between second and third. That keeps you in first position. It's high 3, this is measure 48. High 3, 1, high 3, 1. Third position for the quarter note in measure 48, up to third. Then it's an A sharp, which is again a high 1. We keep seeing this. High 1, 3, we stay in third position for 49. There's a mordant over your B, so it's going to be 2 fingers to 3 fingers. Okay, still staying in third all the way until measure 50. The quarter note there goes back to first position. Okay, and then I actually think you get to stay in first for a little while here. Yeah, you do. There's an option in measure 52 that you could shift up, but I don't think it's necessary. I would hang tight 52, 53, 54, all of that in first position. And actually, we get to finish up this section in first position. If you take a look at measure 55, there's a G sharp with 4 fingers over it. This is tricky, but it's not hard once you figure it out, but it's tricky when you first see it. So you're going to have your 3 fingers down on A. See, the note you're alternating between is D and B. Okay, G sharp is a half step higher, so you can either go or just use your pinky and put it right down next to your third finger on the D string. So you see it's a little bit smoother, you don't have to pick your fingers up, it's a little bit easier. The rest of those are self-explanatory all the way to the end of 56, but just that first one at 55 might take a little bit of practice. So I had left off at measure 48. Let me play that for you. I'm going to do it slow, and then I'll go back and do it a little bit faster. Okay? So ready, and here we go. Off to third. Now 3. Back to first. Now put those 4 down. Okay, so that's the whole whole section. This is definitely, of the 4 sections that we're going to do of this piece, I think this one probably has the most shifting, the most challenging finger patterns. Obviously in the first section there's some tough stuff too, but I would say this is probably, of the 3 sections, the most challenging. So it's going to take a little bit of extra practice, a little bit of time to really get those finger patterns and the shifts down perfectly. Let me play this whole passage for you, and then I'll leave you to practice it. So here's from measure 40 all the way to 56. And then we will finish it up next video, and you can see it actually goes back to something similar to what you had in the beginning, which is always a good thing. So keep working hard on this. We will work on the last little bit in our next video.